So first of all, yes, there is black paint on my hands and on my feet. I won't show you that, but it's from a little bit of a mishap with an upcoming project. But just to explain that away, living in an RV definitely isn't easier than living in a home, but the issues that arise are a little bit different than living in a home. Let's just put it that way. For one, we wanted to move our house, as it were, to be able to open up our awning. We thought we've been in one spot for a while. It's rained a few times. It's a good idea to open it up, let it air out. And with the sun rising on that side of the house, being able to open up the awning has actually been able to keep our house cooler longer. We haven't needed to run our AC as much. In moving our RV, we did it on a, let's just say, a busy day for us. We had editing to do and filming to do, and it's like we're gonna move the house first thing in the morning and then start our day. Now, when we're maneuvering the RV into a spot, it's Bree driving and I'm directing because that's just how we've come to know that it works best for us. Basically, I was making sure that we didn't hit the house of the person who's letting us live in their driveway for the moment, and wasn't paying attention to the tree at the corner of their driveway. Neither one of us were really paying attention to that whole side of the RV, which is a rookie mistake. And rookie mistakes, sometimes you have to pay for them. And we knocked the side mirror off of the RV. Tree branch, our mirror knocked right off. And tree's fine. Going to look at the hole in the side of the door, found out that that wood underneath was very damp, which was in the end probably a good thing, which meant that, you know, the screws didn't have as much grip and didn't potentially snap the door frame of our door. But it also means that there's water getting in somehow. So it's kind of a win-lose situation. Put some duct tape on it to, you know, immediately just seal that hole up. But eventually I went out there and with some Flex Seal tape that we had left over from another hole that we patched up on the RV. But anyway, that's kind of something that eventually we're going to have to fix before we actually hit the road, is figure out how to reattach the mirror. It ripped the whole mirror mount off the side of the RV, which that part is fine, but it broke the mirror glass. But eventually we're going to have to replace that mirror before we get onto the road and start traveling because, you know, obviously we need a side mirror. So if you watched our chores video, which I will leave a link to around somewhere, you'll see in the video we use a Rhino portable gray water tank to empty our gray water into, that we can, you know, wheel it to where we can empty it actually at. At first, I noticed one of the wheels started to go wobbly. And when I checked it out, the actual plastic on the inside, well, let's just say was built with the least amount of plastic while also being structurally sound. That was the idea, at least. What happened was that plastic on the inside that was holding the axle started to crumble, and the wheels got wobblier and wobblier and wobblier, and eventually that wheel became useless. At this point, all of that stress was being put on the other wheel, and the same thing was happening to the other side. The axle was essentially just pushed into the base of the actual gray water tank. There was like, you know, groove with little, you know, plastic nubbies that held it in there and just popped into place. I popped it out of place and had to, you know, essentially use it as a sled. And when I fill it up, I actually have to prop it up. That way it actually leans back the way it's supposed to when I'm filling, and it's not all just collecting there at the bottom. But that sort of leads us to the second issue that has arisen with the gray water tank, and that there has been a hole that's formed. And this isn't a hole from us banging around or anything. If you'll see, it's a hole that's actually in the seam, along where they've put the two pieces of plastic together and, you know, sealed it shut, or just below the spout, I guess you would call it, or the main, you know, water flow section right there has created a hole. So I'm having to drag this 200 pounds worth of water as it's leaking too. So I can't exactly stop and take much of a break because, all of this smelly gray water is literally going to start puddling up. Since we do a lot of crafts, we have a tube of E6000 lying around, and that's been my solution to fixing the hole, has been essentially patching it with E6000. For those of you who don't know, it is a glue, super adhesive, that dries a lot like rubber. It's waterproof, it's flexible. Then once that first layer was dry, it was actually sunken in because the glue had, settled into the hole. Hopefully it's actually filled in that inner part of the seal. So I put another big thick bead right on top to help seal the outside. And again, I'll update you as to how that's going. There is a third and final thing that I will rant about, as it were. And it involves something that I broke personally. And it sucks. We like to say that I'm a little bit clumsy, obviously. And we like to joke around that I'm a big guy in a little world. And that can be especially true when you're living in an RV. And one day, I was feeding the dogs, and Shaggy got under my feet. Something that happens, to anybody, really. But I was up late the night before editing, and still had the laptop sitting out on top of what's essentially a TV tray table. I'll leave the link somewhere around here to us making this table. But anyway, it's what we use in the living room when I needed a surface to work on. And my laptop was still sitting on it. I fell, completely throwing the bowl of dog food all over the front of the RV. But on my way down, was not able to catch myself, knocked the laptop off the tray table and landed on it with my butt, and just completely cracked the screen on it. And we're going to be able to get all of the information off of the hard drive. It's just the screen that's completely useless now. But that was the main laptop that we used for editing our videos. And it itself was very old. It's the one that essentially just got me through college. But ever since that laptop broke, I've been editing our videos on this, which is literally just a glorified tablet. And our last two movie reviews, which if you didn't know, we also have a movie review channel, have been edited on this. Some of the renders on it have been like 10, 15, 20 hours. It's kind of ridiculous. In the description, I'll, leave updates to this stuff so that it's something that so that you can, hopefully in the future, somebody watching this video can just go right down to the bottom and see how all this turned out. And of course, we're hopeful that it's all going to turn out great. That's really all you can control in these situations, is just your attitude towards them. We know that it's always going to be a struggle. That's something that we just know. That's life. That's the reality of living in an RV. And that's something that, we deal with as it comes up. And this is just what's our situation currently going into September 2020. It'll all be okay. And we know that, and you'll be able to see that as you follow us in our videos. This is what it's about, showing you the highs and lows of this lifestyle. So, this is it. This is us currently. Hopefully you're with us for the journey, and you'll see all of the good that comes out of it with us.